I'm not a fan of Cards Against Humanity. I know it's a big game, a lot of people enjoy it. Good for you, good for all those that like games. I'm always happy when people like games. I don't necessarily want to be involved in a game of Cards Against Humanity. The publisher describes it as a game for horrible people. I think that's too harsh, but I do believe that the kind of humor that Cards Against Humanity encourages is kind of horrible because it has at least a big potential for sexism, racism, ableism, all sort of bad isms. So that, again, if that's what your group likes, good for you and your group. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to support that idea. So starting from that, I don't mind the idea of a fun party game in which crazy ideas are shared, in which people put together weird things for entertainment effect. But since I don't like the way Cards Against Humanity does it, I was pretty excited when I learned about Say Anything that seemed to promise the similar kind of experience without necessarily all of that negative baggage. Say Anything actually has been around for quite a while, I read somewhere, but it's only recently that I became aware of the game, even more recently that I played it, and even more recently that I reviewed it. In fact, come to think of it, I'm reviewing it right now. Each player in the game takes a dry erase marker, a board, and 2 matching tokens of the same color and with the same symbol. Then you have the stack of cards here with different questions, with 5 different questions for each card, and you can pause the video to get a sense of the range of questions that you have in the game. You hand this stack of cards to a player that will act as the judge for that round. Each player will be the judge once, and so once everybody was the judge, the game is over and you score points, and the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. The judge will look at the cards and they will choose one of the questions and they will read it out loud. Say, for example, what would be the most fun thing to throw off a tall building? And everybody picks, everybody else but the judge picks up their board and they write down their answer. You probably want your answer to be creative, interesting, it has to stand out. You're hoping it'll be the answer that the judge will prefer for reasons that we will see later. And for example, this is my answer, and someone else writes waffles. What else could be fun to throw off a building? My immortal soul, for example, or Thanos. I don't know. I'm just that creative. They're just coming to me. Now, everybody writes their answer, and then when everybody's done, the answers will be revealed and showed to the judge. The judge will take their own board, suppose this is the board, and look at the back. The back has the symbols matching all the boards. And suppose that the guy really thinks it would be a riot to throw waffles off a tall building, and so the judge marks that answer. Basically, the judge will mark the answer that the judge found the best one. That's a very relative concept, and kind of figuring out what it means for each judge is part of the game. Is the funniest, most inventive, more creative, the one that makes the most sense? Hey, it's up to you to figure it out. Now, the judge commits to one answer back to the other players. Now, the other players take their tokens and they place them on the board or boards that they think have the answer that the judge preferred. Well, the judge only chose one, but the point is that I'm not sure. I think the judge may have said waffles or politician, and you can vote for yourself. And the person that wrote Thanos says, I don't know, I think the immortal soul and waffles possibly. So each player gets to vote, and I really think, says Banana Guy, that is Thanos. So you can commit one token each to 2 board. So if you're really convinced, you can commit to both to a single board. Once everybody's done voting, we reveal the answer and points are scored. You get 1 point if you are the author of the answer that was picked. So that gives an incentive to write the right answer, whatever that may mean. So in this case, the Ghost blue player scores a point for that. You get a point for each token that you place on the judge's favorite answer. So in this case, orange and gray score a point for that, and the judge gets a point for each token that was placed on their favorite answer up to a maximum of 3. Here the judge scores 2. This is how the game works. Continue like this until everybody has been the judge once, and at the point the player with the highest total, which you keep track of on that scoreboard, is the winner of the game. So back to the idea of ranting against Cards Against Humanity. I like Say Anything. I like it a lot. It's fun, it's light, it's entertaining, it's crazy. It really encourages creativity. You want, when you're selecting the question, you're selecting the one that you think will work best with your group. And like so many games of this kind, it does work better with people that you know. You kind of know what to expect. So you're selecting an answer that you think is promising with your group. Your group is coming up with questions with answers as interesting as possible because you want to get selected. And the judge, again, will want to be meritocratic because the judge scores if, in fact, the most interesting answer is chosen as the most interesting answer. So just the scoring system really encourages people to come up with the craziest things. In a certain sense, you have to be there. It's one of those things that I guess you have to be there to see it, to enjoy it. Because that really is the fact. It's in the synergy of the players, the crazy stuff that people bring to the table, the seeing certain things out of nowhere coming out, the seeming totally crazy, and then somehow in some witty certain way they make sense in the context. That is the fun. It is a party game. It is about laughing. It is about having a good time. It is about later having conversations like, wait a second, how come that the most horrible thing ever that you said should go on a pizza was anchovies? Because I kind of like anchovies. I wrote Gandhi's head on my answer. That is something probably you don't want to have on a pizza. And so you're going to have these like surreal almost conversations. So it is a fun, interesting game. Now, if you're a fan of Cards Against Humanity, you can't have a party game without that horrible humor. Come to think of it, actually, you can still have it. Because there are a lot of answers if you just the subject of your answer has to do with genitalia, then all of a sudden you're pretty much playing Cards Against Humanity with the components and with the rules of Say Anything. So actually, it's a flexible game. The point is that Cards Against Humanity, you pretty much have to use the kind of humor that I don't particularly like. Here, you don't have to, in fact, but you could. So in fact, when I played the game, I told my friends, we're gonna play this game PG-13, just because that's the kind of humor that I'm comfortable with and I don't want to go past that. In Sentai, there are cases in which I enjoy adult conversations, but it just seems like cheap and gratuitous shots to have it during a game. So if you play the game with me, it's going to be PG-13. That's the kind of topic that I want to have. And frankly, it is more creative that way. Because then if everybody's just making jokes about sex and about gross stuff, it's easy to come up with things that feel weird that way. So actually it's more creative if you take that type of humor out of the equation, which is the easy gross humor, and then people have to work for the fun and witty answers. So Say Anything, I like it a lot because it has the fun factor, it has the conversation element, it is a simple light party game that anybody can enjoy. And it doesn't have to have that kind of like gross humor, but if you really can't live without it, then actually you can still use Say Anything for that. What can I say? There's something for everybody in here, even for people that enjoy horrible humor, but the good stuff is you don't have to be able to enjoy Say Anything.